Our speaker this morning is Casey Lee. Casey is a four-year boarding student from Hong Kong. He's a member of the varsity boys soccer and JV swimming teams and the president of the orchestra. He's a proud four-year member of Mr. Yinger's advisory and the proud four-year roommate of Pierce Hart. Casey?
Thank you for the introduction. I want you to think about something you're good at. Then, think about how you got good at it. Finally, ask yourself why you decided to do it. I was often asked why I wanted to play music, but I never seemed to be able to give the correct answer. I may seem like an accomplished musician now, but the journey to get to where I am today was rough, and I almost did not make it through. I couldn't seem to pick the right paths and never saw the results I wanted to see in myself until I found a purpose for playing music. My newfound purpose gave me a clear direction and a powerful, lasting drive. Only then did I truly start to enjoy playing music. While the story of how I found my purpose for playing music isn't something I can serenade you all with. However, I can tell to you in spoken form. When I was little, inside my mother's womb, she would play classical music, usually from Mozart, on a speaker to calm my kicking. Perhaps that was a reason for my musical aptitude, given that no one in my family knew anything about it. Then, when I turned around 5 years old, I learned how to play the piano, just like 70% of Asians. I hated practicing piano. It felt like a chore, and I had no reason to play it. Everything my piano teacher taught me flew right over my head. I focused more on not embarrassing myself during lessons, rather than actually improving my musical technique. Over 7 years, I became pretty good at the instrument, winning several competitions once every couple of years. It was a nice feeling to get recognition for the hard work I put into music, and I knew that I should be proud and happy for myself for achieving that recognition. However, those trophies and medals just sat inside a cupboard, collecting dust, while my distaste for music grew. Eventually, I reached a plateau. My fingers could no longer move any faster, and my sight reading abilities, the handy skill that allows a musician to read new sheet music and play it on the spot, could no longer save me. I could tell the teacher dreaded the hour-long lessons even more than I did. "Why do you play music?" she asked me during one of my lessons, tired with my lack of passion for music. I gazed up at the ceiling, hoping an answer would magically appear, but there was nothing there. I could not give my piano teacher an answer. The truth is, there was no purpose for me to play music. I was merely doing it because I was good at it. Nothing more, nothing less. The satisfaction from playing music that I longed for never came. I always thought there was something more to what I was doing, but I could never find that special something. I eventually realized that there wasn't something more. I just wanted there to be. I didn't see any purpose to continue playing music. That was when I quit music for the first time. A few years later, I picked up the clarinet. Unfortunately, there's no inspirational backstory about why I chose this instrument. I just sort of blindly picked an instrument that looked cool and have had to stick with it ever since. After growing accustomed to my new instrument, I got accepted to the Hong Kong Academy for Performing Arts, the most prestigious music school in Hong Kong, which also happens to be the only music school in Hong Kong. Yes, Hong Kong is a small place. This was the first time I found myself in a competitive musical environment. Everyone constantly compared themselves with one another and wanted to become the best. Naturally, I quickly assimilated into this mindset. One of the first questions my clarinet teacher asked me was, "Why do you want to play music?" "Simple," I've replied. "I want to become the best." With a clear goal in my mind, I started caring more about music. I wanted to win competitions and feel like I was accomplishing something from all the years of hard work, but more so to crush my peers and become the best clarinetist at the music school. During the stage of my musical journey, I constantly worried about failing to meet expectations and felt extremely frustrated when I could not do the things the other musicians could. This mentality left me in a prolonged state of stress, which prevented me from reaching my full potential and took everything meaningful to me about music away. Having a goal is great. It gives me the motivation needed for me to succeed. However, I needed more to prepare me to face failure. When I was 14, I participated in my hometown's woodwind concerto competition and reached the final stage. I had prepared the piece for this competition for over a year, taken several master classes, and even performed it during a school concert. My sole reason for competing was to beat everyone in the contest and become the best. Of course, I also wanted the $100 prize that came with it. But those were the only things that drove me to play music. 4 other musicians made it to the finals. They wore their best tuxedos and dresses, strutting about the corridors while waiting to be registered. The atmosphere was tense. Nobody said a word to each other. It was as if everyone else in the room were mere statues. The tense atmosphere got into my head, and I did not feel I was at the right place. Is this really why I'm playing music? Is beating everyone and becoming the best what's most important? I was left deep in thought as the competition began. Contestant number 3, Casey Lee. Contestant number 3, Casey Lee. Contestant number 3, Casey Lee. The rule states that a contestant will be disqualified if their name is called 3 times and they do not show up on stage. During that moment, I was so tempted to remain in my seat as I came to realize that I wanted no part in willingly spending my time getting judged and competing with others. Loser, the musician next to me muttered under his breath. There was no way I could stay seated now. I got up and walked onto the stage, my emotions overwhelming me. The first 3 minutes of my concerto went relatively smoothly, but my mind was simply not with the music. Suddenly, my fingers slid away from a key, and I could no longer remember what I was playing. So I stopped. I could not continue. My mind was too preoccupied with why I was on the stage. The word loser rang loudly in my head as I quickly became overwhelmed with my thoughts and emotions. I had just made a complete fool out of myself on one of the biggest stages in Hong Kong. Now that I had failed to accomplish my goal of becoming the best, I no longer felt the motivation to play music anymore. Everything that I had worked so hard for turned out to be for nothing. I got off the stage, defeated. The smirk from the musician who called me a loser was the last thing I saw as I left the concert venue. I believed there was no purpose left for me to play music, and that I was wasting my time. That was when I quit music for the second time. Before moving to the States for high school, my clarinet teacher asked to meet with me. She asked me not to give up on music, since there was so much more it could offer me than I realized. Her final words to me were, "You should apply to the Juilliard pre-college program when you go to the States. Perhaps when you're there, you will find what you have been searching for all this time." I did not realize then that those were the words that would forever change my life. I was astonished by the confidence she had for me to get into one of the best music programs in the world, and also by the fact that she still had not given up on me yet, even when I had already given up on myself. I did not believe I had the slightest chance of getting into Juilliard, but I auditioned for the program anyway. At this point, I had nothing else to lose. Fast forward to the fall of 2019. I found myself waking up at 5:50 in the morning on a Saturday at Shearer Dorm to travel to New York for my weekly Juilliard pre-college program. Despite the program being notoriously rigorous and prestigious, the professors and students there clearly loved playing and teaching music, and they had fun doing it. There was no competition whatsoever. People just enjoyed being there and sharing music with others. My first orchestra rehearsal at Juilliard was one of the best experiences I've ever had. While everyone was very much serious about playing music, there was laughter, there was joy inside the rehearsal room. This really made the room come to life and almost feel a bit magical. Here, the musicians talked to each other and cared about the developments of their peers. It reflected in the way the orchestra played the pieces, with expression, finesse, and the ability to match each other's style of phrasing with ease. My old music program was the polar opposite. It felt like someone was eagerly waiting for you to mess up and pounced on the opportunity to call you out for it, to gain approval and attention from the conductor. This was a breath of fresh air that I needed. Surrounded by people who grew off of each other and constantly found ways to make music fun. I finally started to play music because I really enjoyed it and wanted to. No more competitions, no more comparisons. Just music and sharing it with others like me. This was a special thing that I had always been searching for. My real purpose for playing music is because I love it. I love spending time with people who share the same love for music as me. I love the feeling of the conductor smiling at us after performing a 30-minute long symphony. And I love inspiring and helping aspiring musicians on their own musical journeys. At the end of the day, I'll never be the top clarinet player at Juilliard, but that doesn't matter to me at all. Not anymore, at least. Being able to share my love for music with others and perform pieces with other musicians is more than enough for me. And I really enjoy doing it. It is why I want to play music. It is necessary to find a purpose for what you are doing. Whether it is a long-time passion, a new activity, or even something seemingly trivial. Always understand why you are doing it. Finding a purpose for doing something will help guide you where you want to be. Take my story, for example. Finding my purpose in music helps me connect with people like me, grow exponentially as a musician, and find joy and belief in what I do. The path to finding a purpose will not be easy. There'll be times when you struggle, fail, and even want to quit. But stick with it. The long and challenging path is always the most rewarding. Now, think about something you're good at. It could be lacrosse, theater, writing, tennis, cooking, or even math. Then think about what it took for you to become good at it. Finally, ask yourself what your purpose is for doing it. I have found a purpose in what I do best, and I hope that one day each one of you will find your own purposes too. Because nothing feels better than loving what you do best at. Thank you.